No commitments or decommitments to either of Georgia boards. Their 2026 class currently sits as the best in the country according to 24/7. Taking a look at some stats from around the country, really nice performance from Brady Marchese. We haven't talked about him a lot on this channel, but he finished with almost 200 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. Ryan Mosley, really impressive performance for Carrollton as well. Shadarius Tootle was all over the field again. He finished with 13 tackles. He is yet to finish a single game this season without at least double-digit tackles. 2 touchdowns for Tyreek Green this week as Buford routes Roswell 65-21. The first one's going to be an interception. Really like the break we saw on the ball there. Real fluid hips for Tyreek Green. Not a guy that I've watched a lot on this channel. Also saw a nice punt return touchdown. This one almost looks like a fake fair catch. You know, I watched this a couple times. He never really fakes a fair catch. I think Roswell just thinks he's kind of crazy for just catching this and standing among there. At the next level in the SEC, he probably gets blown up there, but real nice awareness in a high school football game by Tyreek Green on this punt return touchdown. I don't think we've talked about Braden Fogel since he's committed to Georgia this summer. He hasn't really uploaded his highlights. Did this week. We saw 2 touchdown receptions from him. Just a really effective game. I really like this kid's upside as a inline blocker. He's so physical, also a basketball player. Really like the frame he's given, and then just real naturally strong. We're not going to see any blocks this week, but also see the upside of him as a pass catcher with that long frame. Pierre Dean's another guy we have kind of neglected to talk about on this channel. It's hard to give love to every single Georgia defensive lineman because they have 7 committed in 2026 right now. But he had 2 tackles for losses, a sack, and a forced fumble on this next play here. Good performance from him as West Forsyth blows out Porter Ridge 45-14. Kamari Brooks is the only edge rusher commit in Georgia's 26 class. He did have a sack today. I could not find this video. I checked his huddle. I checked YouTube. I checked X. I checked everywhere. Just could not find a sack this week, but we did see like an 75, 80-yard touchdown from him this week. Going to be following him more, trying to get some more defensive highlights up on here. Real box score type game for Brady Marchese this week. Finished with 9 catches and 194 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns. He has a touchdown in every game so far this season. Georgia beat Austin Peay 28-6 yesterday. Probably a bit closer than you want if you're a Georgia fan. At the end of the day, a 22-point win shows up in the win-loss column the same way a 60-point win does, the same way a 1-point win does. Much tougher opponent next week. Going to be going to Knoxville to play Tennessee. I think Georgia's something like 7.5-point favorites. I got to tell you, man, Tennessee's looked a lot better this season than I expected. You know, I thought the quarterback situation was so difficult having to replace Nico in the middle of spring ball, and I got to give Tennessee a lot of credit. Heupel's done a pretty good job kind of with the patchwork he's had to do. Anyways, Georgia's favored in that game. Going to be a much better litmus test of just how good this 2025 Georgia team is. You know, I do think Tennessee's a quality opponent. So far, Georgia hasn't really played those. You know, I think they've played well enough against lower level, quote-unquote, teams, but I think this week we're going to have a much better understanding of how good this Georgia team actually is. That's it for this week. We'll be back next week with more video, hopefully, and more stats because a lot of Georgia guys had buys this week, and then the guys that did have stats didn't really have video. I try to find as many kids as I can. I think the ideal length for these videos is about 5 minutes. You guys let me know what you think. Any other recommendations you have for the way we do these videos? I do them every week, and they're a lot of fun to do, and Georgia fans watch them. You know, I want to do the other schools, but I can't really do them when they're not watching the recruiting content. Georgia fans, I think, are, you know, I'm not going to call them the best. They might be, but they're definitely up there. Definitely top 3 in terms of following recruiting. So any other recommendations you guys have? I'm going to try to get more Jay Lamar up. You know, Colquitt County hasn't played this week. They didn't play this week. Bit of a slower game from him 2 weeks ago, but I'm going to try to get more film up on him. Thanks for watching.